Roly, Tyler, here, Abuelo, and the Nieto, number 58. We talk Miami sports. We'll be talking about the Canes, who is going to be selected from the Canes in the 26th draft. Long ways away, but we get into that subject matter. Dolphins preview of the Browns game. Some of the comments that Tua made after the Chargers loss, interesting. I'm going to be asking you about that, Tyler. So you're getting, you get that one and you can evaluate that answer from Tua. Also, we'll be talking about the Heat. They're making the final cuts now in the next few days, and they start next Wednesday versus the Magic. What are we looking for the Heat? Where the expectations for the 25-26 season. But Tyler, number 87, right?
Yeah, that's right. No.
Oh no!
57.
No! I went 10 behind. 90. Yes.
Well, I'll
Oh,
already tell you.
what am I doing? 87. No, 58. 58. 58.
Yeah, and it's another guy who we've had a couple not necessarily chefs but food entrepreneurs on this list. We had John Offerdahl at 56. Now we got 58, another guy who's got a couple restaurants of his own. Definitely a Dolphins legend. Who we got here?
Yes, and before I get into that number 58, Balado Tires is our sponsor for Abuelo and the Nieto, 63 years established in Miami, 27th Avenue Northwest and 16th Street, and Southwest 8th Street and 67th Avenue. Number 58, Kimbo Camper, the linebacker. He played with the Dolphins from 76 to 85. I got the opportunity of broadcasting, some of his games. Pro Bowl in 1979, played in two Super Bowls with the Dolphins, was with Marino in the 84 season, played in Palo Alto in that Super Bowl, which Miami lost to the 49ers, and currently one of the broadcasters for the English broadcast group in iHeartRadio. So he's doing a good job there, Bo Camper, together with Joe Rose and Jimmy Cephalo. And Tyler, we have the Dolphins coming up, right? Browns, correctly?
That's right, Dolphins versus Browns. Well, I'll touch on that a little bit later, actually, in our fantasy football our fantasy football spotlight. But yeah, we got the Dolphins facing off against the Browns. The Browns, got a rookie quarterback at the helm with Dylan Gabriel. He hasn't looked terrible. He's been rather efficient. He's found himself a couple of reliable targets out there. And I mean, for a for a young quarterback who's still trying to get comfortable, you want to go against the worst defense in the NFL, and that's unfortunately what the Dolphins seem to have right now. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he has kind of a breakout game. And I mean, once we've gotten to this point of the season, I've lost hope of this defense kind of figuring things out. It seems like they've tested different schemes. This might be more of a personnel issue, not necessarily reflecting on Anthony Weaver. But on the bright side for the Dolphins, concurrently they're facing a rookie quarterback. This might be a chance for them to kind of get back on track, finally get the wheels turning. So I don't know. What are you thinking about that? Do you think this will be a Dylan Gabriel coming out party?
Well, I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. He's played fairly well in the first two games that he's been as a starter. Now Sanders is the second string quarterback. Well, maybe they made a mistake of letting go of Flacco the way that Flacco is been playing. He's been playing more like a Gordo, a strong guy than a Flacco, right? So now we have Gabriel, and you know their offense is very limited, Tyler. We're talking about one of the worst offenses in the league. Number 32 as far as scoring is concerned, 13.7 per game. But they have the number three defense in the league. So I look at maybe a close game, low scoring game, and hopefully Miami can put some pressure on the quarterback, the young quarterback. That defense can step up. They have not done it all season long, but the running game is very, very weak. So, one of the really lowest averages in the NFL per game. So I think Miami's got a very good shot in this game to getting their second win. But at the same time, Tua has to step up, Tyler. Uh, Especially in the second half, Miami has had opportunities in four of the games so far, four of them going into the second half, they have been in good positions, sometimes even on top as far as the score is concerned. And they have not been able to finish games. And they have to do that. If not, they're not going to get much going. And they're not going to get many wins this season. Even the Chargers last week, you're ahead. And the second half, and you don't take care of business, and you're ahead with a couple of minutes to go, and you still are not able to deliver. So they have to finish games, and that's going to be, very important. I think hopefully they can finish this one versus a very limited and a very poor Browns team, but the Dolphins are basically at the same level. Now, the Tua comments, Tyler, what do you think about the Tua comments after the Chargers game regarding, the player meetings and the fact that some players were not showing up, and some of them were showing up late.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic because I understand what he's saying, and that must be, frustrating to encounter that, especially as somebody, you're the quarterback, you're expected to be the leader of your team. But and I don't want to harp on it because he's already kind of addressed it. He even apologized at this point, but it's just not something you do publicly. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, any locker room I've been in, if somebody were to say that, you're getting approached the very next time you walk into that locker room. And Channing Crowder said the same thing. And he said he'd be surprised if somebody didn't, kind of get chest to chest with him after saying that, because it's in the best way of explaining it, there's like this unwritten code in that locker room of kind of brotherhood, and you don't throw those people under the bus no matter what, whether it's a teammate dropping a pass, whether it's issues, amongst, character issues as well. It's stuff that should be handled internally, and that's also should be one of the skills of being a quarterback, is being able to kind of be that guy where everything feels like it's all right. We can trust him. We can trust him to not, go talk bad about us to the media. I mean, you look at guys like Tom Brady. If you're watching an actual game of him playing, he'd get in his receiver's face, he'd yell at people, but once he gets up to the podium for that press conference, it's, everything's good. And he's able to kind of take that deep breath and not, delegate blame to others. And this also isn't an isolated incident. I mean, he's been terrible with the media, which I've been, wondering. We haven't really gotten to speak about that yet. But just in general, I listen to his press conferences and I'm like, what is this guy talking about sometimes? Like, you signed about other quarterbacks' wives the other day, about, some quarterbacks are married to models, other quarterbacks are divorced. It's like, dude, it doesn't make any sense to me. It feels like he's kind of gone off the deep end a little bit when it comes to that. And you know me, and but by now we've been doing this podcast long enough. I'm a Tua apologist. I was a big fan of his game coming out of college the first 2 years, but I'm very confused by it all right now, if we're being honest.
Yeah, and basically, he needs to step up. He's making a lot of money, and we need to get some results. And I understand the injuries; they have affected, his play because, of course, he doesn't have Hill anymore, and then the offensive line having the right guard and the right tackle out, it makes a big difference. But you're still a top-notch quarterback, supposedly in the NFL. So you have to get it going and get it done.
I will say,
Balado Tires, Tyler. Balado Tires, 63 years established in Miami, 27th Avenue Northwest and 16th Street, Southwest 8th Street and 67th Avenue. Tyler proposed that I place a tire over my head next time around. Tyler, you're gonna kill me. I cannot, I cannot do that. So if you're looking for competitive prices, a family business with the personal service that you deserve, also offering a brake service. If you need tires, Balado Tires. We got the Canes, getting into the Canes future, Tyler, a little bit. Upcoming draft 2026. How many players are the Hurricanes going to have drafted in the 26 season? How many first rounders? Are they going to have three?
No,
Huh? If
they're
they
not
if
gonna
they
have
have
3.
three, you know who is number three, right? Or are they going to have two?
They're gonna have 2. I can
So
almost
you go
guarantee,
ahead, you take it.
unless they win a national championship, they're not getting 3. And that's me. Like I said, I've given up on the haterade. I've stopped drinking the Carson Beck haterade. But Francis Mauigoa, Ruben Bain. I think Ruben Bain has a solid chance at being the first overall pick. On particular draft boards, NFL Draft Buzz, which is a really reliable one. A lot of former scouts, put together lists there. They got Francis at number 2, Bain at 3. Pro Football Focus had Bain at number 1, the number 1 overall prospect on their board. Obviously Carson Beck. I see Beck kind of being like a third or fourth round pick right now. He's projected at 62, so that would be late,
Second.
yeah, late second round pick. I think again, I don't want to be negative. I think a couple more games against once we get into the playoffs and things like that. I'm not even saying I don't think he could win the games, but a few of those weaknesses we saw at Georgia are going to be a bit more apparent around that time. But I do think he will get drafted. C.J. Daniels is another one who I think if C.J. Daniels keeps playing well, he played well at LSU last year. He had 40 catches, 4 touchdowns. Outside of Kyron Lacy, he was their guy. This coming to Miami was kind of a chance he took in the portal, and he's played very well. I think C.J. Daniels can be also in that third or fourth round range. He's got good measurables. He's a long receiver, catches the ball well in traffic. There's a few other guys. There's Mesidor, there's Fletcher, but I think those are the 4 guys that we should mainly keep
Yeah,
an eye on.
definitely those four guys. I think Messidor is a third rounder, a fourth rounder. He's still one of the top outside linebackers, defensive ends. And Fletcher, I don't think Fletcher is going. He's a junior, and he'll probably stay in Tyler because now you have NIL, and it's a different story. You can pay some pretty good money to those players, and if they're going to be maybe a six rounder, he might not even get drafted. And then he can make, I don't know, $500,000, $600,000 playing college football. That's a different situation for the player. So that I think that changes. NIL changes a lot of those decisions. So a guy like Fletcher, a junior, he's got a good chance of staying. Daniels, the thing with Daniels is that he's not rated up there, Tyler. There's a lot of receivers rated uh, on top of him right now, but that can change. And you mentioned the situation with Beck. It can change up or down. Those are some guys that, and then you have Scott, the slack corner. He's done great. Thomas, the safety, he's done great. You have a couple of linebackers, seniors that are doing well. So some of those guys on defense, if the team, keeps playing well and goes deep into the playoffs, those guys might get, maybe fourth round, fifth round, sixth round consideration, definitely. So I look for a pretty good draft for the Canes, and definitely, I agree with you. Definitely, the Bain and the tackle Magua or Magaioa, whatever it is, the name is not
Mauigoa.
easy. Exactly, they should go, and then Beck, you know, looks like a more like a second rounder right now. And Miami Heat, Tyler, they start the season next week on Wednesday versus the Magic, and they're doing the final cuts now in the next couple of days. It looks, Tyler, like they have basically the group that everybody knows about. The 14 guys, the 14 top guys. The only question might be Precious Ashua. Are they going to keep him to be the 15th player on that roster? And then you have the 3 guys on two-way contracts. Or is he a goner? Because his contract is not guaranteed. But I think that he stays because, they need that help at the center position. They don't have that much depth in that position. So even though they have Khalil Ware, but you get an injury, any of the two big, top guys, Ware or Adebayo, and Adebayo is not your typical center anyways, and he played a lot of power forward last season. I think that he's a keeper sure. But I'm more interested in how you see expectations for the Heat, Tyler. How do you see the team? Are they, you know, a number five, a number six in the East, or they're more towards the eight, nine, or 10?
Uh, it depends. I mean, I think you look at the East. It's still very top heavy as it has been in the past couple of years. The thing is, there's a few teams that, you know, on top of it being top heavy, there's also more teams that are kind of taking that leap. Like, you know, the Orlando Magic were, you know, better than the Heat last year. I expect there to be a serious gulf between the Heat and the Magic this year. You know, in general, I think it also has a lot to do with Tyler Hero's recovery. You know, you look at that 8, 9, 10 end of conference ranking, that, you know, the race to the plane and things like that. These are decided by 2, 3 games at times. So not having arguably the best, you're not arguably the best playmaker on your team and arguably the best player on your team, you know, every game counts. So not having him for X amount of time could impact that and could kind of close the wall there. So, you know, with the East, it's a little bit different, because everything's going to be so close. So I think it honestly has most to do with Hero's recovery. And, you know, as you mentioned with Precious Achua, he's kind of had like an up and down preseason, but he also signed with the team kind of late, showed up, you know, out of, not necessarily out of nowhere, but kind of in a big rush. And I think once he's able to get settled, I mean, we've seen how he's played with the Knicks, how he's played with the Raptors in the past. He's a reliable player. Like, you know what you're getting from him. He's never been an inconsistent player. He may not be a remarkable one, but I think, like you said, you know, needing depth at the position. I know there's Vlad Golden, who's huge. You know, he's the guy coming from Michigan. You know, a 7 footer. I believe he's 7'2". He's on one of their two-way contracts right now. I think he could end up being an impressive player down the line. He would run the pick and roll as a ball handler at Michigan. So think about that. You know, at 7'2", they would trust him to get the ball, run the pick with Danny Wolf, and then, you know, kind of distribute and make passes. So I'm very intrigued by him. Actually, I'm wondering to see how that kind of ends up. But in general, I think this will be a team that, you know, not really anything to get excited about. You know, kind of that bottom half. You know, maybe they'll pull off an upset in the play-in or early in a playoff series, but you just look at the rest of the conference. Some of these teams are just loaded, and the Heat are not.
Yeah, you figure that Indiana and Boston are not going to be at the level that they were last season, with all the injuries. But still, you know, it's a strong Eastern Conference. I see clearly that Cleveland, the Knicks, and Orlando, not necessarily in that order, are the three top teams. And then you figure there's like six or seven teams that might be better than the Heat if you look at them on paper. I think that the key guy, Tyler, well, there's two key things for the Heat to really take a step forward. And it is, I think it's Adebayo. I know I've spoken about Adebayo a lot because I think that he's a guy that's got to be more, that you have to count on him more offensively. He has to provide more offense. This is a guy the last 4 seasons, he has these points have gone down instead of going up. And, you know, his numbers were not that impressive last season. You know, a guy that's got experience already at the position. He's been playing for a while for the team, and he had 18 points per game, 48.5 percentage. That was his percentage. You know, he had better years before that. You know, okay, like I said, in the last 4 years. So he's got to step up offensively. He's got to be around 23, 24 points because these people, this team needs his offense. And of course, yes, he's a guy that can take the ball from one end to the other. He's great on the pick and roll. He's a great defender, good rebounder. He's a leader, but you need his points. Yeah, you're gonna have the points from Hero. You're gonna have the offense from Powell, but you need Adebayo, and also you need some of the young guys to step up. How much are we going to wait? Some of those, one of those guys got to be, provide more offense, play at a higher level. And of course, the point guard position, we mentioned it last week, a lot of turnovers last season. We've seen that also in the preseason games. So that has to improve. The thing is that they have the same guys there. So, basically the same guys have to improve. because they have not brought anybody that is going to make a difference. But who makes a difference if you're looking for tires? Balado Tires, 63 years established here in Miami with two locations, 27th Avenue Northwest and 16th Street, also Southwest 8th Street and 67th Avenue, a company that has been in the business here for over 53 years. That's a lot of years. And they also provide brake service. If you're looking for tires, Balado Tires. But here we go, Tyler, with my favorite segment, fantasy football. What do you have for us?
Yeah, but before I get into that,
Oh,
just a little impromptu. I know we do South Florida legends with athletes, but I wanted to recognize somebody who had some news yesterday. Actually, Billy Gill from the Dan Levitard show. He was on the show for 15 years. He was a show's producer, one of the best producers, and I view him as the most authentic voice in sports media. He's, like I said, 15 years with the Levitard show. Started there when he was at FIU, and just, if you listen to that show, you understand the uniqueness of it, how it's so different from the rest of sports media, and so much of that can be attributed to him. The sound of that show, the little gifs and gaffs that they do on the show, just a very unique personality, one of the funniest people you can encounter. And he actually just announced that he was going to be leaving the Levitard show. Show will never be the same because he's taking a job at the Ringer with Bill Simmons and more of like an off-air management role. So, I know we like to recognize people, and that is somebody who, I've been able to meet him, and just, a great person, and also somebody who's great at their job. But moving on to, ESPN, our fantasy football segment here. Like I said earlier, I did a little bit of foreshadowing. I'm going to tell you, this is usually the week where a lot of people have their quarterbacks on bye weeks, things of that nature. If you're looking for somebody to pick up, I would pick up Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. They're facing the Miami Dolphins, the 31st worst passing offense in the NFL this season. And I mean, Gabriel hasn't been incredible lately, but every quarterback that's faced the Dolphins has looked incredible so far in terms of a fantasy perspective. They've given up the second most points to quarterbacks. So, I mean, I would take almost anybody that's facing the Dolphins at this point. And he's found some reliable targets. Obviously, Jerry Judy was a Pro Bowler last year, another South Florida guy. But he's also got two really good tight ends. He's got David Njoku and Harold Fannin, who is also a fantasy sleeper of ours. He's leading tight ends in yards after contact. He's the best rookie tight end in the NFL right now. So he's got three guys he can rely on. Isaiah Bond's starting to pick up. He's had over 5 targets in the past 2 games. So, this isn't as much of a reflection on Gabriel. I do think he's a solid quarterback, but, just take advantage of the weaknesses that you have in front of you, and the Dolphins are that weakness. So I would take a flyer on him if you need a quarterback this week.
Tyler, we like to recognize Hispanic athletes here in Abuelo and the Nieto. We have the American League Championship Series, the National League Championship Series. It looks like the Dodgers are going to be in the World Series. They look very tough. And of course, Seattle and the Blue Jays uh, in a very tough, competitive American League series at this point. And we would like to recognize one of those Mariners players. And now we go to the language of Cervantes. Reconocemos a Julio Rodríguez, estelar jardinero central de los Marineros, nativo de Loma de Cabrera en República Dominicana, 24 años de edad, un jugador sin duda de 5 herramientas, 3 veces miembro del equipo Todos Estrellas, novato del año en la Liga Americana en el 2022, 2 veces, pues ha llegado al club de 30 por 30, al menos 30 jonrones y 30 bases robadas en una campaña. Excelente jugador defensivo con potente brazo, y varios expertos lo consideran uno de los mejores center fielders defensivos del béisbol, y en general uno de los mejores center fielders de grandes ligas. En el 2025, esta pasada temporada regular, promedio de 2.67 con 32 jonrones, 95 impulsadas y 30 bases robadas. De por vida, en 4 años con los Marineros, promedio de 2.74 con 112 jonrones y 341 impulsadas, OPS de 800. Sin duda, uno de los grandes peloteros hispanos actualmente en el béisbol, Julio Rodríguez de los Marineros. Y tenemos Balado Tires. Balado Tires presenta este podcast, 63 años establecido aquí en Miami. Yes, 63 years established in Miami. Balado Tires, two locations, Northwest 16th Street and Southwest 8th Street and 67th Avenue. Tyler, Miami Sports Trivia. What do you have for us?
This one's a little specific, but I have faith that you'll get it because it's relatively recent. Who has the most catches in a season in Miami Dolphins history for a rookie?
For a rookie, Jalen Waddle.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Good
right.
job. Good
All
job.
right. I
That was
did.
quick.
I
Quick
got
movement.
one. I get once in a blue moon. So, I have to applaud myself or something. I don't know, Tyler. Send me some candy. I don't know. Uh, how many did he catch? Remind me.
He had 104 catches. So the only players in Dolphins history to have more catches in a season than him, period, non-rookie, would be Jarvis Landry, 112, and Tyreek Hill, who had 119 catches in two separate seasons.
Okay. Now I'm giving you the opportunity to impress people and to look really good because this is not an easy one. I'm not giving you an easy one. You're getting at least part of the answer. I'm pretty sure. So I give you two choices, so at least you get one part at least. The other part is going to be a little more difficult. How many Heat players have won the 3-point competition during All Star Weekend? And name at least two. That one, that last part of the question is the one that is easier, definitely.
Okay, I can definitely name two.
Okay.
Um, how many?
Well, start with the one that you know for sure.
Okay, off
Name
the
me
top
two.
of my, I know that Tyler Hero has won one. I know that James Jones won one.
Okay.
I know
Yes.
that Jason Capono won one.
That's three. There's more.
Oh, he wore number 14. He was friends with Dwayne Wade. Cook, Daquan Cook won one.
And then you go back. You go back. One of the best Heat players in the 90s. And you get the fifth one. There are five of them, Tyler. That is the answer.
Steve
Five.
Smith.
Huh?
Steve Smith.
No, the 90s. Mr. Arroz.
Oh, Glenn Rice. I didn't know he won one. I was close. I got 4 out of 5.
Yeah, you did great. You did great. Glenn Rice, 1995. Jason Capono, 2007. Daquan Cook, 2009. James Jones, 2011. And Mr. Tyler Hero, yes, 2025. He scored 24 points in the final round. And the Heat has the most 3-point winners in the All Star competition with five. Golden State, number two, with four.
It's a
So you
lot.
learn a lot of stuff here in Abuelo and the
Yeah.
Nieto, right? Follow Abuelo and the Nieto. We're in TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and support Abuelo and the Nieto. We need the support. Tyler is the Nieto, okay, over there in New York. Is it cold, Tyler, or is it still warm?
It was cold for like 4 or 5 days. I was in like the 40s and the 50s. I was miserable. But now it's gotten back to kind of in the 60s. So, now I know how I get when it's cold, so I think I need to prepare a little bit more. I might need to get some
All
some
right.
more long sleeves.
Yeah. Have you? The people have stopped crying about the Mets and the Yankees, or they're still crying?
They're still crying. Well, I was happy. I was glad to be at a Yankees bar when they were getting just spanked by the Blue Jays. I think they lost by more than 10 runs. There was one game, I think it was game 1 where they lost by double digit runs, and you slowly see the Yankee fans walking out of the bar and standing up and walking out. Made me very happy. I'm not going to
Well,
lie.
they're here. They're here in South Florida, and I
Yeah.
always tell them. I always tell them. So I take now the opportunity to tell them, hey guys, join the Marlins, join the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Heat, and become Miami fans. All right. Abuelo and the Nieto, number 58, Tyler. Arrivederci. Hasta luego. I think we